Speaking on London, what did you think of the idea to start a game there? You probably were involved in that again too.
Well, not directly, but I was in 1986 was the first game that was in London, Chicago, and Dallas, and it was a tremendous success. And I've always contended that if the NFL went international, that London would be the market. Now that may not happen for a few years, but my bet would be that London would do it because you can do a game over there at 6 or 7 o'clock at night on Sunday night and would fit the 1 o'clock window on Sunday.
That's right.
So you could do it. You maybe would have to do bye weeks. And as you know, they're talking about condensing the preseason, making the regular season longer,
18,
and you might be able to work some flexibility out of travel and things like that. So I think it's coming. I just don't know how soon it's going to come.
Right. Do you think they would go maybe across the seas before maybe like I've thought before? Well, first of all, Toronto's been having some games, and then maybe even Mexico, because it seems Mexico is they've maybe picked up football a little bit more. Soccer's obviously the game there, but
well,
proximity.
Those would be good sites, but I think that number one, you have to, it would be a political thing. It's just like saying if you take the Super Bowl international, you'd never do that because the league has an antitrust exemption, and Congress would get involved if you were not playing the Super Bowl in the United States.
Right.
Just the same way, as far as an expansion team, there were probably places in the United States who would like to get an expansion team. You mentioned Toronto in Canada, which isn't very far away. The Bills are playing some games up there. So it would have to be something that would be carefully done.
Yeah.
But I still think it's going to happen. Its day will come not that far down the road, probably.
Yeah. Okay. And you mentioned this earlier, the lockout, the labor situation. What is the role of broadcasting in that? Because I know there's players, owners, and the league. Where does the broadcasting sit in
Well,
that?
the broadcasting department is part of the league, part of the commissioner's office.
Right.
And so they're heavily involved from that aspect of it. And one of the aspects that is most prevalent is the game scheduling. And the broadcasting department does the schedule for the league. And I know that they've made up alternative schedules.
Yeah, okay.
And they're all hopeful that they don't have to use any of the options.
Contingency plans.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And so you started in public relations before you got into the broadcasting stuff. But you were a public relations guy in the 70s.
Yes.
It seems like that would be just a totally different job now. So much more involved. What do you think about that?
Well, the public relations with the team in the 70s used to be that you go along with all your media, that you would take your media out to dinner the night before the game on the road, and sometimes your coaches would join you. Today, that there's more of a formal wall between the media covering any sport and that team. There's, as you may still be too young, but there was an ethics thing that went on several years ago. In other words, some of the newspapers wanted to pay for press box food and things like that, wouldn't allow you to go out to dinner with people.
Right.
And so there was kind of that convergence, along with the change of the role of newspapers to local television and radio and internet and all that. And so now you have a 24/7 cycle as a PR guy. I noticed the NFL spokesman, the guy named Greg Aiello, who I know well, he's put out a Twitter over 4th of July weekend that basically said that the Players Association, the league, are not taking the weekend off. Plenty of phone calls. I'm sure he got it within the number of characters that you have on Twitter.
Right.
But that was Greg's way of getting a message out that they weren't vacationing over the holiday weekend.
Right.
And you could put out a press release, I suppose, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, but Twitter is the way to do it now.
Instant, yeah. And I feel too, like what you were saying, that it seems like there is more of a wall between media, and maybe that's part of a reluctance from the teams to be so open to the media, because the media seems to have gotten more aggressive.
More aggressive, cases. And just we could have a long conversation on this.
Right.
And that simply is because the pressures on newspapers to get it before it's on radio, to keep newspapers prevalent and relevant. And now it's not necessarily in your printed edition, but to get on the internet or website before somebody else. And whereas something used to have several hours to be researched, to be sourced, now the professionals are under pressure of getting things done quicker.
Right.
And so when you have that environment, plus on the other side of it, which has nothing to do directly with the media, is that there's more pressure on coaches to win. To win now.
Right.
You don't have 5-year plans. You better do something within 3 years. So it's just a different environment from when I started. And quite frankly, I'm very happy that my career was where it was.
Right. It's I think everybody's having to come to grips with all of this stuff in a multitude of professions. Not really just public relations. When you started out in the early 70s, did you have the goal of ending up where you ended up in, say, 2006, or did it just fall into place?
It basically fell into place, more luck than anything else. When I got a break to go with the Denver Broncos, I thought if I could get 3 to 5 years on my resume being with a pro team, that would be terrific. And then I'd go, I really want to be a newspaper guy, sports writer, sports editor, that type of thing.
Cool.
And I also thought if I ever got to a league office that I would be able to stay there a lot longer, because teams change personnel more often than league offices. In the NFL's case, Commissioner Rozelle had a 30-year career, and Commissioner Tagliabue an 18-year career.
Right.
And Commissioner Goodell is on his fifth or sixth year right now. So that part of it, once I got to the league office in New York City, I was in the structure that I felt more comfortable with, and had more long-term benefits because there's less change. Now that's changed a little bit also.
Right.
But I felt very comfortable being in the league office.
Yeah, I think for people my age, that getting a job has been a difficult thing for a lot of them. And something I've noticed with even some of my friends is they didn't exactly know. I think you would never set out on a career like yours and think. Not everybody would think I want to be the director of broadcasting of the NFL. They don't always think about these jobs existing. So when you're starting out on something like that, what do you think is the most important? Say if you're at like the bottom of a ladder and you're looking up and you want to start climbing. What are some of the things that worked out for you?
Well, you have to kind of multitask and see that there's different areas, particularly now. In other words, it used to be that you would go with a company and stay with that company. This isn't just professional sports.
Right.
Stay with them for a long time. That ain't happening anymore. So you have to consider, if you get 5-6 years with one place, then you may be looking other places to move to. So you have to be multi-talented. You have to be able to see what your attributes are and play to those attributes, and know what your weaknesses are and try to improve on those, of course, but play to your strengths, all the while knowing that length of time with a particular company used to be a long time. It doesn't seem to be that way. So you have to also understand that if you don't believe in change, you're probably not going to last for long, because within any industry, they're looking for revisions, for changes, for new challenges, to improve, not standing still, name the phrase,
right.
all those types of things.
Right.
So I try to tell young people that.
Yeah, yeah. And are you going to be teaching a class this fall? Did I see that, or was that at Bowling Green?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, where alma mater, Bowling Green,
okay.
we're doing a sport media project with them.
Cool.
And I'm going to teach a class on sport media.
Okay. I think a common theme with you and Chuck Prefer and George Hill, who I've interviewed so far, was there seems like at a certain point there was just kind of like a big break. Something fell into place. What was that break for you, if you can think of something?
Well, the biggest break was probably career-wise was two times when I was in college, and I just happened to work in the sports information director or sports information office. The director left right on the verge of the fall football season. The AD came to me as a student and let me be the interim SID my senior year, even though I had to graduate a couple months later.
Wow. And
during that period of time, I was exposed to a guy by the name of Bob Peck, P-E-C-K, who left the Mid-American Conference late that year, and became the director of public relations for the Denver Broncos.
Okay.
Hence, 4 months after I graduate, I get a phone call saying he needed an assistant, and it started there. And then the other break is simply that when I got to the league office, another gentleman by the name of Val Pinchbeck asked me to come from the public relations department into broadcasting. And so for the last 18 years, I was able to get re-energized a little bit, doing something a little bit different, although it's the same area in broadcasting. So those are two big breaks. And usually somebody is involved, a mentor or somebody that you happen to know helps you along the way.
Right. Good deal. Well, thanks for talking to us. I do appreciate it.
Anytime.